And then we're going to hear from Tim Horan from Oppenheimer on who's going to sort of wind it up and tell where he disagrees with everybody else before we start a panel discussion.
Well, thanks everybody. So I've been a communications and call it cloud analyst for as a lead now for almost 20 years. I've been at Oppenheimer for 18 years. I don't want to talk almost nothing about what they talked about, to be honest with you, but all great topics. Everyone hit things a little bit differently. But I just want to step back, where the big trends are. And, we've had a thesis for 17 of my 18 years here at Oppenheimer, just two big ones that we're moving to the cloud, a mobile cloud. You have to put it in perspective kind of where we're going. And I was in Microsoft's office 15 years ago, and I told them we're moving to mobile cloud, and the devices are going to be thin at the edges, and you're going to want to be able to access all your content on any device. And they threw me out of the office, basically, when I met the strategists. And now that's exactly what their strategy is, and they're trying to basically put everything into the cloud. And so that's the first thing I think you have to look at. And secondly, I think everything is going mobile. We've had voice largely go mobile, and I now have the new wireless 7 device, and I think it's mostly working on LTE, but I'm not sure, to be honest. But the voice quality I'm finding, is phenomenal. The data quality is phenomenal. I used to have a tablet. I used to carry around the newspapers with me. Now I do almost everything, frankly, on this device right now. And we think we're going to see a tenfold increase in overall wireless data volumes in the next 5 to 10 years, probably more like 6 to 7 year period. And the winners in this sector historically, from a carrier perspective, are those that can provision the highest quality network connectivity at the lowest price points. And you can look at the cable stocks the last 7 years. They've gone through the roof because they have virtually a monopoly on wireline broadband. You can look at Verizon. Their cash flows, return on invested capital is way above everyone else in the industry because they've gotten market share and they have a very, very high quality network. And along with that, the other part of our thesis over the last 16 years, other than we're moving the mobile cloud, we used to call it network-centric computing, is that we're going to see historically a much more horizontally segmented industry, and that's how we've made our money over the last 16 years, which is owning the companies that are the suppliers, the shared infrastructure, because that's how you massively lower your expenses. And there's 5 components of shared infrastructure. We started out with sharing towers, then we started sharing data centers, Equinix in particular to be kind of a switching point. Then we started sharing compute. I follow Amazon Web Services, and what Amazon really is let's get up the utilization of this asset, and that's what all this sharing is about. Let's get utilization from 20% up to 80%, and I think you have to embrace that. The 4th component of sharing lately has been fiber. You have Zayo puts in 200 strands of fiber, or down 3rd Avenue, you're putting in 1,000 strands of fiber that are going to every single corner where we're putting small cells in. And more recently, I just initiated on a company called Boingo, which, and the total rationale for that was just because I think we're going to start to share spectrum, which the carriers were always really resistant to. And frankly, the carriers are always resistant to everything I've just kind of talked about, which is all right. As a total anecdote, the federal government, which I normally do not side with, but they forced AT&T to do 3 things historically, and I'm not going to go through them, but they were by far the 3, and AT&T fought them tooth and nail. They often had to go to the Supreme Court on it. And those 3 things basically each time tripled AT&T's firm value, and the management resisted it more than you could ever imagine, but neither here nor there. So Boingo, we think we're seeing a convergence between Wi-Fi and LTE in a lot of ways, and we think we're going to start using unlicensed spectrum a lot more. And Verizon was historically really, really resistant to that, but I think that's going to be coming. But there's like 10 different things to talk about. I could talk up here for like 2 hours about what's going on to the industry, but the main thing I wanted to say is I think consumer habits are changing dramatically, and I think the industry has to take advantage of it. You have to recognize it. I have 4 teenage daughters, believe it or not, but if you go, I talk to a lot of clients that have children between 5 and 15 years of age. They're not watching that much television anymore. This might sound crazy, because when I grew up, that's all we had was television, but they're not watching television anymore. So the most important thing for all of us in this room to understand is what does that mean for the industry? And I think that very fact is going to drive this industry more than any of us can imagine, simply because the cable companies, and I've been recommending the cable companies for a long time, and I'm in writing on this, being taped, but the cable companies are going to have a problem. Their primary product that they're selling, which is television, is going to go away. They sell a lot of voice on wireline, which is kind of going away. And they sell a fixed wireline broadband product, which is going to go to wireless. And I think they have to enter the wireless industry to protect their core business. It's a $200 billion a year business. Wireless is a $200 billion a year business. I would argue that wireless is now going to start to grow a lot faster than and you'll start to see the cable companies declining. Now, cable's been growing very, very rapidly, but everything in life is cyclical. The cable companies have had a phenomenal 7-year run. I kind of believe in 7-year cycles. And, we'll see what the next 7 years burning. But, like I said, we can talk for hours and hours. A big thing on Wall Street right now is, can Sprint and T-Mobile merge? I personally do not believe they're going to be allowed to merge, but I think them starting the conversation will force Comcast or Charter to think about buying T-Mobile and Sprint and trying to change the whole universe. And I do think, I just met with the Verizon's management team yesterday, and when you talk to them, and I'm sure you'll hear the same from others, but Verizon in particular, they recognize consumers can't pay an awful lot more for wireless. So they want to go after that cable revenue stream. That $200 billion they see as low-hanging fruit. And, it's hard to disagree with them. They want to go after that fixed broadband market. And they want to also then be able to change the consumer habits on video. You're going to watch short-form video over your tablets or over whatever mobile device that you're basically working on. And that's how they, really want to drive new revenues and share in some of those advertising revenues that are out there, and change the advertising format quite a bit, and share in other application, other content revenue. And I didn't get into Internet of Things or many, many other things to talk about, but I think it's going to be another incredibly exciting 5 years. And I think the most important thing to focus on is what's the industry structure going to look like. And I think we're going to see a huge amount of consolidation. And at the same time, you have to be the low-cost provider of a tenfold increase in bandwidth capacity. Thanks.